Hello, my name is Malik Abbas Dabu. Welcome to Upfront. I am sitting in for Raymond Aqua. At Upfront here, we go close to the people who make all the news. And today we are talking football. Ghana achieved another success with the West Africa Football Union. And it triumphed over historical enemies Nigeria. Is this a renaissance of Ghana's football, or the claims that Ghana's football is on the decline? It's true. The president certainly doesn't believe it is. When we come back from the break, I will introduce to you a guest who will help us break down all the issues. Keep watching. You're welcome back. You're watching Upfront. My guest is the president of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi. Mr. President, welcome to Upfront.
Thank you.
You were at the presidency yesterday, and you led the team there to meet with the president and to show him the trophy that you won quite recently. What won this trophy for Ghana?
As indicated, yesterday we went to the Flagstaff House to present the WAFU, the giant WAFU trophy that Ghana won. And they just ended WAFU Cup of Nations. And it was clear that a lot of hard work went into the preparation of the team towards this tournament. And there was also determination, commitment, and I think everyone resolved that following the failure of the team to qualify to the CHAN, that it was incumbent on the players and handlers to make a case for themselves and redeem their image, which had gone down as a result of the failure to qualify to CHAN. And the failure to qualify to CHAN had also given a certain impression, some of which included a view or opinion held out there that Ghana football was on the decline. I'm happy His Excellency the President didn't agree with whoever tried to argue with him over the topic, because if we did a critical analysis of the state of football, then you cannot reach that unfortunate conclusion that Ghana football was on the decline.
Was this because we hosted the tournament, or this was just a case of the young boys being hungry for success and going out there, particularly because they were playing on their own backyard?
As I indicated, I think one, they were hungry for success. They were very determined. They were also very committed. They put a lot of hard work into the game. Coupled with that, the home advantage also may have accounted for their success, but you can't rely solely on home advantage. It is not always the case that the home team wins in every game. There are many occasions that home teams have lost.
We hosted the Ghana 2008 and lost.
Yes, exactly. That is a very good example. In 2008, Ghana hosted the African Cup of Nations and lost. Since then, in 2010, Angola didn't win. 2012, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, they didn't win. 2013, South Africa did not win. 2015, Gabon again, Equatorial Guinea did not win. And 2017, Gabon did not win. So the home advantage may play a role, but it's really insignificant.
Let's delve down into the controversial matter, shall we? And we heard the president yesterday list great players produced by Ghana, including the Asamoah Gyangs of this world. And his view was that Ghana's football is not on the decline. There are those who disagree, and they point to the league and say, if you look at the performance of the local league, it no longer generates the excitement that it generated some time back. And that is ample evidence that Ghana's football is on the decline. Do they have a point on it?
It's not true. It's not ample evidence of declining football in Ghana. You are comparing two different generations. You are comparing two different eras. In the 70s and the 80s, the circumstances of football were entirely different from what we have today. In those days, there wasn't exodus of players to Europe. The exodus of players to Europe started probably in the late 1980s. That was not even pronounced until probably in the 90s.
But even the 2000s, our league was still quite strong.
I'm coming to that. Many players have left now than previously. Now it's very easy to see players leaving even to less glamorous destinations like Vietnam, Afghanistan, Thailand, and many unfancy destinations in Europe. We also have a very stiff era of competition. We're competing with the players from South America, and so you find that the South Americans have taken a lot of space in Europe. That's why we find our players going to these destinations. And when you try to explain to players who want to leave to these destinations, a whole village, a whole community will send a delegation to come and plead with the club chairman or owner of the club why he should allow the player to leave, because he's the sole breadwinner, and wherever he's going, the income levels are far better than what pertains here. Because in the Ghana Premier League, incomes are nothing to write home about.
Is that not because some would say you fail to attract the needed sponsorship to make it lucrative?
The Ghana Premier League is just a microcosm of the state of the Ghanaian economy. The police service or the media or people in private sector are not different from what pertains in the Ghana League. What is the size of the Ghanaian economy, and how much sponsorship can you even generate? Historically, how much sponsorship have we generated from the Ghanaian economy? The biggest sponsorship we ever got was from Glo in 2008 when we signed a 5-year deal with them, and that was for $3 million a year. If you compare that with what pertains in Europe, you'll be making a serious mistake. You'll be comparing apples and oranges.
Because Neymar alone is getting 200 million euros.
But Neymar is not a Ghanaian. He's not an African.
No, I'm just making the point that one player can make all of that money, and an entire league is getting $3 million.
That's the point I'm making, that in Africa, the story is different. The economies of Africa are not that strong. Neymar is playing in France. The money is coming from Qatar. These are rich countries that can afford to pay any amount for a player. In Ghana, nobody can pay even 1% of that for a player. It's not possible. You know, we must also understand that there is competition in the world, and the most lucrative leagues will attract the best players. Why are the best players in Spain? Why are the best players in England? Why are the best players in the top leagues in Europe? Because they have the money. They are backed by big cartels, big businesses that are able to dole out millions and billions of dollars to pay for transfer fees for players. In Africa, the situation is different. Why are people not comparing African economies with European economies? People are quick to compare the state of football in Ghana to the English Premier League. But you won't compare the economy of the United Kingdom to that of Nigeria or even Ghana or Liberia or Cote d'Ivoire. I think that we must do a peer review. We must compare ourselves with our fellow Africans. Let me tell you, in Africa, the best league in terms of money, riches, is the South African League. The South African League is among the top 10 richest leagues in the world. It's because of the size of the South African economy. TV rights alone fetch over $100 million from the giant TV company, what's it called? SuperSport.
Multi-choice.
Yeah, they pay a lot of money for that. But it doesn't mean that South Africa produces better players than Ghana. Ghanaians are naturally endowed with football talent. What we don't have is the money to push the players. South Africa has it, and yet it is not the best in terms of quality.
But you're talking about comparing Africa to Africa. There are those who say, in the last, since 2004, I think, none of our local league clubs qualified to the semi-finals of the Africa Confederations events. And they say, this is clear evidence again, because if our league was strong, the various clubs, the Kotokos, the Inter-Allies, the Tema Youth, and all of these clubs should be able to qualify to those championships.
Well, a small correction. Folk won the Confederations Cup in 2005, but since then, we haven't performed well. And if we ask the clubs why we haven't performed well, it's not because we don't have good players. it is because we are unable to retain the quality players we have in the country. And it boils down to financial reasons. Because a player in Ghana, there's no player in Ghana who is paid $1,000 a month as salary. You get, immediately the season ends, a player gets a contract in India, Thailand, or Vietnam, and he's paid $5,000. The quality of the league there doesn't compare anywhere near the league in Ghana, and yet the player will accept the offer and go. Even if you try to persuade him, the whole village, led by the chief of the village, will descend, on you and make an appeal for you to allow the player to go, because when he goes there, he earns money. So we are not able to keep our star players. 1 year, a player is discovered as a star player. The following year, he's a foreign-based player. He doesn't play in Ghana for economic reasons. Just this WAFU championship, we saw how well some of these players discharge themselves. In the next few months, I won't be surprised if they all leave the shores of Ghana to seek greener pastures for financial reasons. And that is why our league will continue to suffer, because we are not able to retain our best players. If we go to Egypt, let's take North Africa. The North Africans will continue to dominate the CAF Champions League. As we speak now, the semi-finalists of the Champions League in Africa for this year are all from North Africa. Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco. They have dominated it. Why is this so? Because they are able to pay their players to stay there. And these are relatively better economies than West Africa.
Some say we are unable to pay ours because the FA and all the other persons or institutions that play a role are unable to keep even the small sponsorship that you get. The Glow sponsorship that you talked about, did it conclude properly? Why didn't it?
Glow, we signed a 5-year contract with Glow, and the contract ran out. They didn't renew.
Why?
Glow as a company is not doing well in Ghana. Is an open secret. It's a telecom company. They have 5 telecom companies or 6. We have MTN, Vodafone, Tigo, Airtel, Glow, and then the other one, Espresso. Yeah, they are fit in terms of ranking. Their subscriber base is fit. It's not big. Their incomes are fit, rank fit. It's not a company that is doing well. Glow is number 2 in Nigeria, and Ghana is fit out of 6 companies. It's not doing well, so they are not able to continue. The next sponsorship that came was from the Capital Bank.
Capital Bank, yes.
A bank that's recently wound up or collapsed. So it has nothing to do with the league. It is the structure and strengths of those companies. Maybe multimedia strong companies should come and sponsor the league, and we are guaranteed a long tenure.
Yeah, but Mr. President, you gave an example when I cited the Neymar case, and you said that PSG bought Neymar, but the money is coming from Qatar. If our league was strong, the money will come from outside, elsewhere. Maybe the economy may not be that strong, but if the league was strong, the money could come from somewhere.
Yeah, but you must understand that PSG is in France. It's based in Paris. France is the 3rd biggest economy in Europe. After Germany and the United Kingdom, France is number 3. And so it offers a lot of advantages to businesses than a businessman coming to put the same amount of money in Africa and Ghana in particular. So the motivation is higher to invest there than here. Why is it that the Qataris are investing in PSG, and then the people from Abu Dhabi are also investing in Manchester City, in Manchester? It's because of the returns they get for that. Qatar, if you understand the geopolitics of Qatar, Qatar is interested in advertising itself, and they see football as one vehicle to do that easily.
That's why they bid for the World Cup,
2022 World Cup.
Yeah,
and Neymar is not just a player of PSG, but he's an ambassador for the 2022 World Cup. And so the money is not coming just only from PSG, but the World Cup company that is bidding for the World Cup. If you also understand that even beyond PSG, the monies that Qatar has put in Barcelona to advertise their country is enormous. If we go to Qatar today, you have all the top American universities with campuses in Qatar. You have all the best businesses with satellite or real offices based in Qatar. And they try to advertise their country, showcase their talent, their skill, everything. And they see football as a veritable tool to do that. If which African team is being sponsored by a Qatari a Qatari agency or a Qatari business. I'm not aware. It's because they see this one as an easier way of projecting themselves, and they are doing it. They have a sports channel called Bein Sports, B-E-I-N-G. The managing director of that company is incidentally the managing director, Sheikh Nasser or whatever, yes, the managing director of PSG. And they're using it to promote their business. Bein Sport is a pay-per-view channel like SuperSport. Even SuperSport, how many people in Ghana can afford to subscribe to SuperSport? Once upon a time, there were only 40,000 people out of 20-something million Ghanaians. So every businessman is interested in profit. When they are coming into Africa, they will be looking at where they will make returns. So the economy has a direct bearing, a direct relationship with sponsorship in soccer in those countries.
Some say you have paid too much attention to the Black Stars to the neglect of the others.
And that is a criticism I've heard many times by some founded. It is rather the media who have paid so much attention to the Black Stars.
Is it?
It is rather the soccer fan who has paid so much attention to the Black Stars. I have followed all the national teams. Incidentally, we have 8 of them. We have the Black Stars, we have the Chan team, the under-23, the under-20 and 17 for the males. And then for the females, we have the Black Queens, the Princesses, and then the under-17, the Maidens. I have been to Pram Pram to watch matches involving the women's teams. And regrettably, you won't find any media person there. They play at the Accra Sports Stadium, and the spectatoring is sparsely populated. The Black Stars just goes for training, ordinary training. All the media men are there with their TV recording devices. The spectators are there. The supporter groups are there singing and chanting, some of them carrying banners of players, fan groups, and what have you. Then the same people will turn and say, it is the GFA that is paying attention. You are paying more attention to the Black Stars. But it is not surprising because every country has just one senior national team. And that is what FIFA uses to grade or rank your country as doing well or not. And so naturally, if the attention is there, it's understandable. But it is not the GFA that has paid too much attention. The GFA spends just about 20 to 25% of its time on the Black Stars, and then equally spends a lot of time on other products. Do you know that apart from the Black Stars and the other national teams and the leagues that you are aware of, we have other programs that we undertake or implement? We have training programs for coaches, for referees, for sports medical personnel, for administrators. We have staff issues that we handle, pitches, infrastructure, media issues, ICT, and so forth, infrastructure, I mentioned that. And it all takes a lot of our time. But it looks like the interest in other areas of our work is not as high as the Black Stars, so it appears so.
Some would say that's the case because since 2006, we know that back-to-back, the Black Stars have qualified for the World Cup, which will play a role in people being excited about them. If you take the under-23, for example, the last time they qualified, they went to the Olympic Games was in 2004.
You are right.
So generally, why will anybody be interested in a team which doesn't appear to be achieving
You are
anything?
right. You are right. We haven't done well at all in the under-23, the Olympic Games. Since 2004, we've not qualified. In 2007, in China, we couldn't qualify. And then in 2011, we didn't qualify, and then the last one in Brazil, we didn't qualify. The reason it can be explained, but the fact still remains that we haven't qualified. And we've been to the World Cup for the under-23 a number of times. The last one in Papua New Guinea, New Zealand. The last one was in New Zealand for the under-20. For the under-17, fortunately, we'll be at the World Cup in next month in India. And we've made exploits at all these levels. But regrettably, the under-23 has not done well. And, but it can be explained. I recall one of the qualified matches. It coincided with the Black Stars Nations Cup fixture against Sudan or Swaziland. And apparently, the same players were the core team for the Black Stars.
So something
and
had
the core
to
team.
give.
Yeah, we had to select one ahead of the other. If we had used the players to play the Olympic game, we would have beaten Sudan and qualified to the Olympic Games. And then probably not qualified to the 2012 African Cup of
Is the technical directorate of the FA performing to your satisfaction?
What is the technical directorate of a football association supposed to do? The technical directorate is supposed to provide technical direction. And basically, it has to do with the empowerment of our technical staff, which includes but not limited to refereeing, coaching. These are the 4 pillars of football: refereeing, coaching, sports medicine, and administration. These provide more or less the foundation for players to perform. And the technical directorate has been in charge of these training programs, and they have discharged this responsibility creditably.
So when you hear claims about payments, the preponderance of payments to referees to officiate matches, and if you don't pay, and these are widespread opinion, does that worry you?
Yes. Yes, because if it's true, then it means that people are not winning games on merit. It means that...
You say if.
If it's true, yes.
You don't...
There are rumors.
You don't have a basis
to, we've
suspect
had a few,
that there's credence to some of the allegations.
No. I will not make my pronouncement based on rumors. I have to make my pronouncement based on facts. There are rumors all over. I mean, people peddle all kinds of stories. Some of them are false, of course. You cannot prove them. And the punishment for indulging in corrupt practices or bribery is serious. It can lead to a life ban for somebody like Referee Lamptey recently suffered.
And I was coming to that.
You don't judge people, and it also has a huge reputational damage to cause somebody if you make those allegations and they are not true. That's why I say if they are true. So a number of times we've investigated some and found them not to be true, and they are dismissed for want of evidence. In that case, you cannot rely on that to make a categorical statement for or against somebody. But if it is true, it is unacceptable, totally unacceptable for a football game to be decided on grounds other than merit. It's not acceptable.
You are dismissing this, and I can sense that. But does it not affect our reputation and standing and performance at the continental level?
Yes, that's the point. Well, it's not a Ghanaian phenomenon. I just read in the newspapers or somewhere today that some referees in Malawi were banned for life. It means that it is a worldwide occurrence.
Are we comparing ourselves to the West situations?
No, I am not. Even in Europe, we have examples like that. It's not... Wherever it happens, it's not acceptable. That's the point I'm making. And in our case, we frown on it, and we also will impose heavy punishment against any such malpractice if it's discovered, investigated, and the person convicted or found guilty of the crime. Because it's not acceptable for anybody to engage in bribery and corruption or any form of corruption that can influence or manipulate the outcome of a football match. Okay,
and talking about corruption, it's one allegation which has bedeviled your presidency, especially in the last few years. The key claim people make is that there's no transparency in the running of the finances of the association.
In what way? It's a baseless accusation. Let me make this point clear today. There is no iota of truth in that allegation. It's better disregarded because, first of all, the Ghana Football Association is not a public organization. It is a company limited by guarantee. And the law requires us to render accounts to our stakeholders. So every year we go to Congress and submit audited accounts to our members for consideration and approval. And this is done regularly. Since I've been at the FA from 2005 to date, we have gone to Congress every year to submit accounts. And those accounts are scrutinized by the stakeholders, and the stakeholders include the regional football associations, the clubs, first division, premier division, second division, referees, coaches, security, sports federations, schools and colleges, universities, Ghana education, they all have reps who come there. These accounts are scrutinized and approved. The accounts are audited by the Auditor General of Ghana, and they are considered every year and approved at the Congress. The law doesn't require us to do anything more than that. Some people think that the GFA accounts must be published in a newspaper, and probably a rally must be organized for GFA officials to address the public on the accounts, maybe at Circle or KJT and Kumasi, for us to answer questions on our finances. Multimedia company is also a private company. The law requires you to do your audited accounts, send them to your shareholders for approval. Then you file copies at the Registrar General. You are not required to do anything more than that. And yet nobody accuses you of being opaque in your financial
Mr. President,
dealings.
when we hear that executive committee members do not even have access to contracts entered into by the association, we should dismiss those allegations.
When you hear that, where did you hear that?
Well, we hear that executive
so everything that you
members,
hear is right?
Well, that's what I'm asking you, that executive committee members claim they don't have access to contracts.
I have not heard any executive committee member say that about any contract. Which contract? Which contract of the FA has been signed at the blind side of the executive committee of the GFA? I want to know, so then I can address it. But such a generic and sweeping statement made, the GFA has many contracts. It's really not fair to make those kind of allegations. It's just like you have to find fault to the GFA, so you have to give the dog a bad name and hang it. You know, do you know that some of these things have forced some of us to go to courts because the allegations have remained unproven for a long time. And people think that once a lie is told and is allowed to peddle for a long time, it metamorphoses into the true fact or the fact. It is not the case. No matter how old a lie is, it doesn't turn into the truth. It does not. People have said all kinds of things, especially the tree-speaking radio stations, some of them in Ghana, have made wild allegations. For instance, multimedia, I'm surprised that the standards that you have in, let's say, Joy FM or your English-speaking station, the standards are different from the ones that pertain in your tree stations. The tree can make wild allegations against people, and then they are expected to be believed as the gospel truth. You know they have a case against multimedia in court. You know that?
Yes. So let's not...
I'm not going into the details, but I am just using it as an example to show a disapproval for falsehood that is capable of injuring your reputation. And this contracting, it's also going to court. People make wild allegations. And then if level-headed people like you will even believe it, I'm sorry.
I haven't believed it. I just asked a question.
Well,
Mr. President, you know that, I mean, where I said my job is to ask questions.
I know.
So but, I certainly can't believe it.
Somebody told me yesterday that, Kwesi, do you know some of these things make an impact? That people believe them. That people believe them. They just go and make wild allegations and people believe them. That's why we have to go to court. I will go to court. I will go to court. Many more of those court cases will soon emerge on the scene for the truth to be, the truth or otherwise to be established. Those who make those allegations, it's only fair you give them the opportunity in court to come and justify, because justification is a complete difference in defamation. When somebody defames you and comes to court and proves it, he says you are a thief, then he comes and says, you stole a goat, you stole a cow, you stole a car, you stole money. It's a complete defense. They should come and defend themselves. Some of them will do that. When you take them to court, they will be begging you. They will be hiding behind the table and be begging you.
Is the FA's communication what it ought to be?
You see, the FA is an organization whose activities are of so much interest to everybody in the country. Football cuts across religion, gender, ethnicity, race, whatever. I've always said that people who follow football, they are more than the people on your voters register. In fact, they are more than the combined membership list of NDC and MPP, those who follow football. Because the voters register, if you are not 18, your name is not on it. Football, people from 7, 8 years, even less than that, they are interested in football. And then people who don't belong to any of the political parties, they all follow football. So the interest is huge. And it's not a Ghanaian phenomenon only. It's serious in Argentina, in Brazil, and in Nigeria. People are passionate, more passionate even than religion, you know. And so you try to make an effort to explain things, and yet it may not sit well with all sections, or you may not even be able to assess all strata of people in the society. So it's really a big challenge, the communication. I think that probably we've underestimated the love and impact of football on the citizenry. And maybe our communications outreach should be bigger than what we have, so that it can address the teeming and growing interest in football. Maybe some people should specialize in communicating in local language. Some, their target group is a certain class of people, some social media, so forth and so on. Then we'll be able to satisfy everybody. But I can assure you, even if we did that, we will not be able to satisfy everybody. But at least we would have made a considerable progress in addressing the needs of our public.
The suggestion is that in your first presidency from 2005 onwards, you didn't really struggle with communication. Has anything changed which may have played into the kinds of problems that you just laid out?
Maybe you should do a situational analysis of the 2 era or the 3 eras that I ran as Football Association president. From 2005 to 2011, how many radio stations did we have in Ghana? How many newspapers did we have in Ghana? At that time, was there WhatsApp? There was no WhatsApp, as far as I know. Social media did not exist, or it existed on a very limited scale. Facebook, I don't remember, in 2005 and 2006. I stand to be corrected anyway. So the circumstances have changed now. Social media is so vibrant now. If you don't take care, you'll be swept off your feet.
Maybe you didn't adapt.
That's the point I'm making, that we probably remained conservative and then fail either to adapt or have not adapted quickly to the changing circumstances of the times. And that's what I said, that we probably need to look a step higher beyond the traditional setup and then engage more hands, more expertise, and more strategies in order to reach out to all the publics we have. And so the eras are different. It's not about the persons, but it's the eras and probably the strategies that we adopted. That time, I remember, we had a newspaper, Ghana Football. I used to be a columnist of the newspaper. You know, I used to write every week. Now, I don't even have the time to write. I used to write regularly and address topical issues in the media. Now, it's about Twitter, it's about Facebook, it's about WhatsApp, and so forth and so on. Not even about writing again. You know, newspapers have been overtaken now by the social media. And, what's it called?
And online platforms, such as My Joy Online.
Yes, in fact, is a leading online in Ghana, and one of the best in Africa.
We should record that one. And
no, it's a fact, Malik. It's a fact. It's a fact. Anybody who, whether the person likes you or not, that's a fact. your online portal, My Joy Online, is the biggest. When I wake up in the morning and I have to check news in Ghana, wherever I am, that's the first place I visit. I must be honest with you. Yeah. So sometimes, I remember I've called your attention one day to a typo error or something like that. Yes. I said, no, this is a world-class online, and this kind of typo error doesn't deserve to be there.
I understand. So let's talk about your presidency. What would you say in the time that you have been president, over a decade and a half, more than a decade and a half, what would you say is your biggest success as GFA president?
The legacy. I should have been asking you for what I have done. What readily comes to mind, I mean, people remember easily is with the achievements with the national teams. The Black Stars went to the World Cup the first time in 2006. And then people said it was by chance. Then we repeated the dose in 2010. And then they all said, oh no. Then we went again in 2011 to allay all fears and put all doubts to rest.
You mean 2014?
2014, yes. So, and that has given impetus to that impression that the GFA is a Black Stars GFA. That's what they always say, you know. But aside that, we have done well in women's football. For the first time, Ghana didn't have a women's league. Now we have it. And it is during my era as president of the Football Association that we qualified and took part in World Cups for age group competitions for women. Under 17, the first time in 2008 ever, Ghana participated in New Zealand. Then the under 20, we have been to every under 20 World Cup and under 17 World Cup for girls and women. And the Black Queens has also done very well, been to the World Cup many times. The only thing the Black Queens hasn't achieved yet is to win the African Championship. And that is a challenge for us. Now,
is there not a certain contradiction, sorry, if you allow me, when the other clubs apart from the Black Stars don't do well, especially in terms of the men one, you say, well, it is the media and the Ghanaian people who are not paying too much attention to them. It seems to me you are taking credit for the performance of the women other teams.
No, what I said about the men's team was you were talking about concentration, that our attention was concentrated on the Black Stars. And I said that it's the media whose attention is there. I didn't talk about the successes. The successes, we all share that. We always pay tribute to the media and the public for contributing to our success, but we take responsibility solely for our failure. Now, the point I'm making with the women's is that we never used to have these competitions, but incidentally, the FIFA created them during our era, and we have done well. And one policy that the FA has championed and championed successfully is to advocate that footballing or soccer should go hand in hand, be combined with education. And we have done so well with that with the women's teams. All the women who play, or the girls who play the under 17 are from the schools. All the women who play under 20, they are all from the schools. All the women in the Black Queens now, they are all from the schools. So you find some in SSS, some even in universities who are playing in the women's teams. And what happens, what is good for it is that you acquire two skills. You become multi-skilled in football and in education. So in the event that you don't pursue a career in football and you retire, you have something else to lay hands on and you don't become a burden on society. And a lot of our girls have, through that, secured scholarships to American universities to pursue academic careers in academic courses. Some of them have retired from football and have established their lives after football as professionals in accountancy and other fields of life. And that is very, very, very important. We try to do the same with the men's competition. So most of the boys now who play for the under 17 are from the academies, where schooling is combined with football. And then one thing that people talk about, if I don't address it, it might look like I'm running away. They say, oh, they've collapsed Coles football. They've collapsed juvenile football. I used to play Coles football. I played it when in WA. If we go to WA and you ask about me, my contemporaries, they knew me as WA Polo because of my exploits in football at the time. You know, now, those days, the football clubs were not many. The coast clubs were not many. So the National Sports Council used to give us boots. They used to give us footballs. There were about 200 in the whole country. Now we are talking about 4,000 clubs or excess of that in the country.
In every village.
Every village there is football club being played. So what we realized was that the quantity was increasing, but the quality was not seeing a corresponding increase. No, you have more clubs. We have more clubs. So in one town,
the fact that there are many doesn't mean that the quality should be low.
In one one town, let's take Wa, for instance. Like Wa, population of about 400 or 500,000 people. And then those who play football, about, let's say, 2,000 of them play football. And then you have about 20 or 40 clubs there. The good players will be scattered all over instead of being concentrated in few clubs. So we decided that it was important to reorganize juvenile football in our country. The era of coals is even outdated now, because in Europe, they don't play coals football. They have soccer academies where people play in academies, residential academies or non-residential academies, and they learn both soccer and education. But the coal system, you just play only football. So the trend has now changed from management of coals to academies. But for financial reasons, we can't have academies up to the standard that we have in Europe. So we decided that we cannot do away with the system altogether, because the FA doesn't have money to even give to coals clubs or juvenile clubs to run. So let us reduce the numbers in the region. So we decided to put a ceiling of 20 in each region. Apart from Tema and Accra and Sunyani, which have a lot of coast clubs, they could have more than that. So 20. Then we did a pilot scheme in Accra to support them with the equipment.
What's the contribution of these coast clubs as they currently are structured to our national agenda to promote football and other sporting activities?
All young players come from the coals and the schools and the academies.
In the various clubs?
Yes, they come from there, because when you are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years, you'll be aligned to either a coast club or a school team or an academy. It's a natural affiliation. And so with that, you need to go down there and support them. So we have organized training courses for coaches at that level, because most of the people who coach players at that level do it out of instinct and not out of training. And so they just go and teach them anything. And if a child is not taught the right, to acquire the right skills at that age, he grows up learning the wrong things. He cannot even control the ball well or give a good pass when he grows into a big footballer. And that is why in Europe, these academies are very, very important. May I support Barcelona? And their academy,
okay, so we share that one.
Yes, the academy is called La Masia. The La Masia, I don't know if you visited La Masia before. I've had the opportunity of going there. Messi came from the academy. Iniesta, Xavi, you know.
Of them.
You go there and you learn a certain culture. You grow up with a certain mentality and a certain way of doing things. So you grow up and you mature into a certain way.
Are we capable of doing that?
We have some in Ghana here. The best soccer academy in Ghana, or I won't say the best soccer academies, the two best soccer academies are the Red Bull Academy and then the Right to Dream. And they have the resources. They keep the boys there, and they don't just teach them to play, how to play soccer, but they also imbibe in them skills in education. So they grow up, and for me as a soccer administrator, it is easier to manage a footballer with education than the one who doesn't have education. Even the footballer with education, when he's given a pass, he knows the mathematical foundation or the philosophy of the mathematics of passes. So when he shoots the ball, he knows the angle is supposed to take.
And the
so
coefficients. We are talking about your leadership. Are you difficult to work with?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
I ask this because there's a suggestion that every vice president you have worked with, you have fallen out with.
Oh, is that so? I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
What's your relationship now with your current vice?
The current vice president, I don't have a problem with him. He had problems with me. I have not told him that I have problems with him, but the issues came up, we have resolved them. But it's strange for people to make such generalizations. You know, it is very, very strange. It may have, I've worked with how many vice presidents? 4 vice presidents. And if I've even once upon a time had a problem with one, can you generalize that I have had problems with all?
You didn't have a problem with Fred Papu?
No. I never
you didn't have a problem with Fred Cancel?
No. They are my friends, especially Fred Cancel is still my friend. And you see, the the defective reasoning in these kind of things. We call it halo effect in sociology. All Negroes are weed smokers, or all Arabs are violent. So every Arab you meet must be a violent person. It doesn't make sense. Jordan Agbala died. So I had a problem with it, that's why he died. It doesn't make sense to make such generalizations. When, when people don't like you, they try to find problems with you just to give you a bad name. It's unfortunate, but these kind of baseless allegations against people must be treated with the contempt they deserve.
When I asked earlier about your biggest achievements, one of the things that when I speak to sports people, they point out is the structure you created for the FE or the various committees that didn't exist in the form and the manner that it exists now. So you are credited with doing that. The downside, they say, is that a lot of the people who occupy these places are people who have vested interest. They have clubs.
My brother, this point about conflict of interest and club men is neither here nor there. The Ghana Football Association, like its name suggests, it's an association. It's like the Ghana Bar Association, the Ghana Journalists Association, or the Dressmakers Association. You understand? If you are not in that business, you cannot hold a position in the business. The Ghana Bar Association president, is he a carpenter? Or is he a tailor? The GJ, me, I'm not a journalist. Can I be president of the Ghana Journalists Association? Can I be an executive member of the Ghana Journalists Association? The fact that the public has interest in soccer does not mean that every member of the public is entitled as of right to hold a position on the GFA. It is just not correct. And so people who own clubs, we come together and make rules to govern the management and administration of clubs, club football in the country. And you say they have a vested interest. Should they step aside and bring fishermen and carpenters and lawyers and teachers to come and run the association for them? And this is done everywhere in the world, everywhere. Look at the FIFA statute. Who qualifies to be president of FIFA? Or who qualifies to be president of CAF? If you are not connected with football at a certain level, you cannot hold a position in football. So my piece of advice to those who are interested in football, beyond the mere interest in football, if you want to hold a position in football, identify with the relevant constituencies in football, and then you can contest a position in football. But the fact that I eat fish does not mean that I can go to the Fishermen Association and say that I'm the president, or I want to contest to be treasurer of Fishermen Association.
You spoke about CAF.
Yes.
In the wake of the CAF elections, there was a suggestion that you plotted a coup in Accra here to get Hayatu out.
No, I was against Hayatu, and I'm happy that my team won. You know, I was very instrumental, I was very strategic, and I was deep in the planning of the overthrow of Hayatu. If Hayatu hadn't won, maybe I would have, if Hayatu had won, as we speak now, maybe I would have resigned from CAF. Because it came to a point that we could not work with him. And not only me, the other people on my team. Omari Constant, after Amadi was out, because if he had lost the election, he was out of the executive committee. And I think that we took a risk and it paid off. It's like a coup maker. When you fail in the coup, you commit the offense of high treason and you are punishable by death.
By death.
When you succeed in the coup, you are the president. You know, it's a risk that you take. So we took the risk. In a democracy, if you contest a certain president and you lose, you are condemned. People, you are in opposition. If you win, you take over and rule the country. So we took the risk, and I'm happy that we won. But we did not only win on the basis that people like us, but the message that we put across. And that was our manifesto, and I'm happy to announce that we are implementing it just like that.
Yeah, so Ahmad won. So far, so good?
So far, so good. I'm happy with the meeting in Morocco, which was like a roadmap for the renaissance of football in Africa. Changes were made in so many aspects of the game, including the tenure for the size of the teams for the African Cup of Nations, and then the periodicity of the African Cup of Nations.
So you are for the expansion?
Yes, I'm for it. I supported it, and we're going to see an implementation of it from 2019.
And talking about coups and presidents, do you have political ambitions?
What I'm doing is politics. This is football politics.
Are
you talking about party politics?
Party politics.
Maybe in future, when I leave football, I may consider it. But as we speak now, not yet.
What will you go? MP?
What did you say?
Presidency. What would you be targeting? MP?
I don't know what plans God has for me. When the time comes, God will show me the path. Do you know, I never thought I would become Football Association president. I went to law school to practice law. And then my friend said, please, can you be a rep? In fact, let me just mention his name, the MP for West Central. Dr.
Rashid Palpo.
Yes. He said, Kwesi, you were a keen footballer, a keen football fan. We want you to represent Upper West Heroes. I said, why not? So I was appointed vice chairman of the club. This was in 1997.
So that's how...
Yes. Then
so it was purely accidental.
It was accidental. I never planned it. I went to the GFA to represent the club from 1997. I attended meetings. Then in 2001, there was an election in Galka. I got elected to the GFA Executive Council then. This was 2001. Then 2004, there was another election. I got elected as vice chairman of the GFA. Then 2005, there was another election.
And then you became...
I became the president. So it was by chance. I never planned to get this. So you never know where God will take you to. Even you, okay, I can't ask you questions, but...
Are you MPP?
I have decided to... Let me make this position clear. At the Football Association, I have advocated a certain position there that all of us, whether you are NDC or MPP, when we're talking about football, hide it. I don't want to know your political colors. So when we come there, the common denominator is football. And we have done it so well. If I went to GFA started propagating the ideals of a political party, I would have divided the place by now. But let's all bury our political persuasions and then embrace football as something common to all of us. So when you ask me whether I'm NDC or MPP, I would prefer, for purposes of a public discourse like this, not to answer.
Is football playing its role in uniting the people the way it should?
Yes. Football is the biggest instrument for social integration and unity, because football has no color, it has no regard for religion, ethnicity, or race. And this is clearly shown during a football match when people get onto the stadium. The level of happiness, ecstasy that is displayed during a game. In 2006, when Ghana played at the World Cup, we all saw the happiness that football brought to the team in masses here. And it brings people together. It even reduces crime, you know. There has been some research in South Africa to show that during matches between the two bitterest rivals, Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, that the crime rate reduces and that the policemen have relatively less work to do because all the criminals are at the stadium watching the game, you know. So the policemen are walking freely without any work. And so it saves the country foreign exchange in buying arms to control crime.
So how worried are you that our football doesn't appear to have the love that it had, especially our local football?
No, it does. It does.
Does it?
Yes, it does. But the seeming reduction or lack of love for our local football has been created by a deliberate comparison that we make with European football. That's why I said in the 80s and the 70s, there was no basis for comparison. We didn't have access to foreign television, and all our focus was to go to the stadium and watch our games. Now, you wake up, your TV, you can watch English Premier League, you can, at the same time, Spanish football is being
La Liga
played,
is on.
and then you are comparing with...
League One is on.
Yes.
And the Bundesliga is available.
Exactly. Then people will be saying, oh, look at the stadium. Look at their pitches. Compare that with our pitches. Then look at the quality of play. And so the era where comparison started is the era where dislike for our local game also started. It's natural. There are preferences for people. There are choices for people. But I think that we should not make the mistake and compare our league with the La Liga. We don't have the most talented players on earth. And even in the Spanish league, the best players are not necessarily from Spain. Lionel Messi is not from Spain. Yeah. Neither is Cristiano Ronaldo from Spain. You know, they bought the best players. The English Premier League, that one, I won't say has the best players, but the best marketed players. And the German Bundesliga as well. And they have good facilities. They're able to maintain them. One of the banes of our football here is the pitches. We play football on very bad surfaces. And it is our desire to try and improve on that. But it's the responsibility of all of us to see that it's done.
From the way you're talking, it doesn't seem that there's hope for our football, because a lot more people are going to get a lot more interested in the European leagues, and that is to the detriment of the local one. And the
European leagues are going to grow stronger. They are not going to get weaker. We need to invest more in our leagues to raise the level. I wish one day we will be able to compete with them at the same level, but I'm not sure that the best comparison for our league is the European league.
What is lacking? Is it money or talent?
It's money. Both? We have the talent, but we don't have the money.
Do we have sufficient talent?
Every Ghanaian plays football. When we grow up, you are born with the talent. We start playing football even before we go to school. I don't know whether you play gutter to gutter, but it's very common in our communities. Every little space between houses is a football pitch in Ghana. We play soccer. Nobody even teaches you how to play. You just start playing it. We have the raw talent. What is needed is to polish it, and we need to polish it with the money.
Is our World Cup campaign in peril?
Yes, because our destiny is not in our hands. As I speak with you now, we need to win all our games, and that will not qualify us unless Egypt draws or loses against in their next match against Brazzaville Congo.
Are we in peril because the GFA interferes with selection of players for the games?
That's an outmoded practice. We heard it before I came to GFA that the management members used to interfere with selection of players. As far as I got associated with football, I haven't seen anything like that. I am a professional, I'm a lawyer, and I believe that every professional must be allowed to do his work. So if, for instance, I decide to go to court and a client gives me a case to do, I don't expect you to come and tell me the kind of questions I should ask.
Are we going to see Mr. Nyantakyi in the GFA presidency in the next 5 years?
Somehow, somewhere, I will quit. I believe that a time will come when I have to put down my tools and take off my boots and probably put on a different boot.
You haven't decided yet?
I have. I've announced already that after the tenure, after the end of my term, I will not seek re-election. I've announced that already.
Okay. Government may seek to host Chang. Are you in support?
I am yet to meet the minister to have a discussion with him on this, because to host the Chan, it is the GFA that will submit the application to CAF. But you need certain guarantees from the government. So it's a teamwork between the GFA and the government. GFA,
are you in on it?
I am in support of it, but not fully. I need to be assured that the financial wherewithal is there. I need to also be assured that we can secure the rights from CAF through the political activities of CAF.
GFA President, it's been an honor hosting you. That's the President of the Ghana Football Association. This is Upfront. God willing, tomorrow we will bring you another exciting discussion on Upfront, where we get close to those who make the news. My name is Malik Abbas Dabo, and I've been sitting in for Raymond Akwa. Bye-bye.